Imagine a monster so powerful that it can tear apart a helicopter in midair. Today, we're going to talk about a giant snake that can't be killed by bullets, fire, or even bombs. The story begins on a deserted island. From above, this place looks beautiful, but deep within its dense jungle lies a dark secret. Here, some heavy military trucks and helicopters are moving through the jungle. This convoy is taking a girl named Lynn and her 2 assistants to a high-tech facility. As the trucks travel along the dirt road, a small snake gets crushed under the tire of one of the trucks. At first glance, this seems like a minor accident, but as soon as the truck moves forward, the dead snake suddenly starts moving and comes back to life. From this scene, we realize that something very strange and unnatural is happening on this island. After this, they reach their destination, a massive secret research center where scientists are conducting dangerous genetic experiments on snakes. Inside the lab, the tension is palpable. Their assistant nervously tells him that their latest experiment has failed again. He warns that they should shut it down. If this illegal research continues like this, the outside world will get suspicious and the entire project will be shut down. They have very little time, but the head scientist there, Dr. Q, is adamant that he will complete this project no matter what. He has become so obsessed that he doesn't care about any consequences anymore. He says that stopping now would mean a loss of millions. That's why he won't stop this research under any circumstances. The scene outside the lab is nothing short of a nightmare. There, scientists are dumping thousands of small genetically modified snakes from large boxes into a deep pit, and just witnessing this sends chills down your spine. Lynn is standing in front of a huge glass chamber. Inside that chamber, the biggest result of their research is imprisoned. This monster was created by Dr. Q himself, and then, using its genes, they wanted to make the rest of the snakes just as powerful. Lynn realizes that all of this has gotten out of control. That's why she makes a big decision and tells her team to delete all the data here, erase all the evidence. She also orders the soldiers to burn the thousands of snakes lying in the pit outside and then to destroy this lab as well. The doctor begs and pleads for one last chance, but Lynn doesn't listen to him at all. She presses a button that injects the lab's most poisonous chemical into the snake. But as always, even this poison has no effect on it, and it becomes even more aggressive. In other words, it gets enraged. Here, the snake lets out a loud scream of pain and anger. The scream was so loud that even all the snakes outside the facility heard it, and now they began reacting to their leader's voice. Chaos breaks out there. The big snake tries to break its glass cage. Lynn, panicking, activates the emergency incinerators so that the snake can be burned alive inside the glass. Flames engulf the chamber, but the monster is so powerful that even the fire can't harm it. Meanwhile, outside, the small snakes emerge from the pit and attack all the soldiers and scientists. A massacre begins there. When Lynn sees that the situation has gotten out of control, she grabs her assistant and runs toward the helicopter. Meanwhile, the soldiers shoot the scientists from behind so that no one survives to reveal her secret. But the biggest monster created as a result of this secret was still out of everyone's reach. The soldiers fired bombs and bullets at it, but it just wouldn't die. Eventually, the giant snake breaks through its glass enclosure, then shatters its chains and becomes completely free, launching an attack on the soldiers. It was swallowing entire humans whole at a time. Lynn comfortably sits in her helicopter and tells her assistant to clean up the whole mess here. After that, she saves herself and flies away, leaving her poor assistant behind to try and herd the remaining soldiers back toward the center, but an army of snakes blocks their path. Up in the air, the giant snake leaps and smashes another helicopter mid-flight, bringing it down. The assistant, trapped on the ground, realizes that they can't fight that giant monster with just these soldiers. To save themselves, they all run toward the jungle. One of the soldiers tries to escape by taking a truck, but the giant snake chases after him, and in his attempt to save himself, the big truck tumbles off a cliff and is destroyed. Now both assistants are running for their lives into the jungle, and we see that the giant snake is now after them. The snake attacks them, and here, one of the girls gets badly injured. The boy, who is her partner, risks his life to save her and strikes the snake's eye with a knife. Writhing in pain, the snake throws the girl far away. The girl takes her last breaths and dies right there, and the boy is devastated devastated by witnessing all this. But the boy doesn't even get a chance to grieve. The snake comes back and kills the boy as well. Meanwhile, the two soldiers who had run towards the river to save their lives manage to get into the river using a boat. But the giant snake chases them into the water as well and eats them too, and in this way, within a short time, that giant snake, that monster, had silenced the entire island. The scene cuts, and now the story moves forward by a few years. Now we are on a luxurious cruise, which is sailing very comfortably in the middle of the sea. Everything there is normal. People are partying, music is playing, and everyone is happy. And among all these passengers, we also meet our hero Jan. Jan looks quite smart and fit, and he also seems very sharp-minded. He notices that someone is secretly taking their photos. Jan catches her as well and asks her, "Why were you taking our pictures?" Then Lee explains that she works for a magazine, but Jan was suspicious of her. He grabs her camera and deletes all the photos. At this moment, Lee says to him, "I know who you're looking for." Jan is surprised to hear this, and before he can ask any questions about it, a strange vibration is felt on the ship. They see thousands of snakes crawling up the walls of the ship. In no time, they spread all over the deck. The party atmosphere suddenly turns into chaos and screams. Jan immediately senses the danger. He grabs Lee and starts to run. While running, he tries to ask a crew member what's going on here. Before he can say anything, the same giant snake emerges from the darkness and swallows the man. This is the same monster that was on that island. Seeing this, everyone is terrified, but Jan and Lee keep their wits about them. They start running with as many people as they can save. Here, there are snakes everywhere, the same ones the scientist had thrown into the pit on that island. Here, Jan picks up an axe to kill those snakes and keeps moving forward, making his way through them. They reach a corridor where they see that a rich man has locked himself inside a VIP room, while everyone outside is begging him to save them and asking him to open the door. But the rich man doesn't listen to anyone and doesn't open the door, and he immediately faces the consequences of his bad deed. Small snakes enter his room through the ventilation deck and bite him. The people standing outside can only hear his screams. Yen takes everyone and runs towards the engine room, where they meet an old man who was trying to hide his granddaughter and protect her from all these things. Yen decides to help them as well. At this moment, Yen notices another thing. All the snakes attacking here actually can't see. They only hear. They are moving towards people and attacking them by listening to their sounds, and seeing this, he signals everyone to stay completely silent. Everyone stops moving and hides behind the machines. They even held their breath, and during this time, that huge monster snake enters the room. It comes very close to them and tries to sense their presence. But when no one makes a sound, it is just about to leave from there. But at that very moment, unfortunately, a girl's phone rang, and right then the snake, enraged, attacked in the direction of the sound. This forced everyone to run for their lives, and they rushed upstairs and hid inside a large industrial freezer. As soon as they got inside, the heavy door of the freezer shut, and the snake kept ramming into the door with force, trying to reach them. The snake hit the metal door so hard that it got dented, but the door didn't break, and in this way, their lives were saved for the time being. Outside, they sensed that everything had become quiet. They thought that the snake had left from there, but now there were even more problems. Even where they weren't safe. It was getting extremely cold there too, and if they stayed any longer, they would die. They started wondering what they should do next. Just then, Yen saw that a girl in the group had been bitten by the same snake. At that moment, they didn't have any medicine, and if the girl didn't get treatment in time, she would soon die. They tried to find some first aid there, but there was nothing available. Yen knew that they couldn't stay there forever. He came up with a dangerous plan. He would go outside and distract the snake so the others could escape. Suddenly, his friend Johu stops him. Before they could say anything, the injured boy quickly opened the door, went outside, and started running away. Hearing his footsteps, the snake chased after him, giving the others a chance to escape. The boy did this so that he could save everyone's lives. He knew himself that he was going to die. By sacrificing his own life, he was saving everyone else. As soon as everyone escapes, he leads the snake into the freezer and shuts the door. Seeing this, Yen's heart breaks and she becomes very angry. The remaining people head towards the captain's bridge. When they arrive here, they see that the captain is lying dead and the ship is stopped there. The ship must be started at any cost. Lee says that she knows how to operate the ship. When they try to start the ship, it suddenly jolts violently. It is shown from outside that in fact the giant snake on which experiments were being conducted had emerged from underwater. It was so huge that it took control of the entire ship. It coiled itself around the ship and then attacked the ship's deck with its massive mouth. Seeing this, Yen and Zhou go outside to stop it, but the monster is extremely large and extremely dangerous. Seeing it, Yen realizes that the ship won't survive now. He tells Zhou to get everyone onto the lifeboat. Everyone starts doing as he says, while Yen stays behind, risking his own life, and begins spraying kerosene all over the ship. He decides that he will set the ship on fire. On the other side, Lee and the others get into the lifeboat and descend into the water, waiting there for Yen, hoping that he will have survived and make it to the lifeboat. But suddenly, there's a huge explosion inside the ship. It catches fire and the ship starts burning. For a moment, their hope was shattered, but then, when they saw Yen emerging from the water, they breathed a sigh of relief. It really was Yen. At the last moment, he managed to get onto the boat. Everyone pulls him into the boat together, and as soon as he gets there, he passes out. The next morning, their boat reaches the shore of an island. As morning breaks, Yen regains consciousness as well. He wakes everyone up on the boat and they all head into the island. But even after coming here, their lives didn't get any easier. Once again, fear and terror crept back into their lives. They had escaped from one monster, but here there were hundreds of monsters. Giant monsters that eat humans. Here, a girl's foot hits a rock and suddenly the ground starts shaking violently. It turns out those weren't just rocks. In reality, they were terrifying, gigantic monsters that eat humans. These monsters emerge from inside the rocks in a horrifying manner, and one of them even swallows a girl whole, while the rest of the people try to fight back against them. Seeing this, it becomes clear that these monsters are blind, but they wake up at the smell of blood. The girl who had actually stepped on that rock, that is, on the monster, was injured at the time, and it was her scent that awakened all of them. She also realizes that these monsters can hear as well. That's why he tells everyone to walk slowly, and in this way, they manage to avoid the monsters and make their way deep into the forest. When they get out of there, they arrive at a supply camp. It looked like an army camp. There were a lot of weapons and bombs there. They picked up the guns to protect themselves. Here, they also find a walkie-talkie with which they try to call for help, but there's no signal. Now, even though they don't want to, they have to move forward, and as they go ahead, they encounter a giant spider. The spider stabs one man with its stinger and swallows him whole in a single gulp. Seeing this, everyone gets extremely frightened and terrified. To save themselves, they all start running away from there. And to stop the monster from chasing them, they also attack it. They attacked it with bombs, bullets, everything they had, but the monster just wouldn't stop. Eventually, they reach a secret building. To save themselves, they go inside that building, and it is revealed that this is the same research center shown at the beginning of the movie. Inside, it was dark and covered in dust. There are pictures of snakes on the walls, and the decayed, rotting corpses of scientists are lying on the ground. Suddenly, the lab lights turn on, and Yen is shocked, wondering who turned on the lights. They didn't even know yet where the switches to turn on the lights were. Now he started to suspect that there must be someone here who is playing this game with them. He looks at everyone with suspicion. Anyway, everyone decides to rest here and goes to sleep, but one man doesn't sleep. He starts wandering around the lab, and we get the sense that he's trying to find something. He removes a poster and finds a hidden diary, and here a big secret is revealed, that the man is none other than Dr. Q. He wasn't dead, he had just pretended to be dead. And it was he who brought everyone here using that ship. He was the one who killed the ship's cruise pilot so that the ship would crash here. We find out that he didn't want to kill the snake, but rather he came to take it back because he was the one who created that snake. Here, Yen is shown. He goes inside and sees a place that looks like a cave. We see that the same giant snake was sitting there, the one that had survived the fire on the ship as well. The snake knew that Yen was the one who had made that deadly attack on it, and now, to take its revenge, it attacks Yen as well. Here, Jojo, who is Yen's close friend, comes between the two to save them so that Yen can get a chance to escape from there. Yen rolls outside and the heavy blast doors automatically close behind him, trapping Jojo inside with the monster. Yen cries and bangs on the doors because he thinks his friend has died. Here Lee comforts Yen, and suddenly their walkie-talkie starts to go off as well. Actually, the rescue team they had contacted finally replied. By tomorrow morning, a rescue team will arrive here to save them. Hearing this, everyone is overjoyed, and we look into Yen's eyes. There is neither happiness nor tears in his eyes. Now there is only the fire of revenge in his eyes. He says that as long as those monsters are alive, we won't leave this place. Now he has to avenge the deaths of Johu and the others. He comes up with a plan and assigns everyone tasks according to it so they can kill the monster, and at this moment, Dr. Q reveals his true face. When it comes time to execute the plan, Dr. Q finds Yen alone and attacks him with a knife in order to protect the monster he created. But Yen was a fighter too. He also fights Dr. Q and injures him. Even in his injured state, Dr. Q starts laughing and reveals that it was his plan all along for everyone to end up here. He also reveals that he created the giant snake and that he is its god. Suddenly, the doors open and the giant snake appears before them. Dr. Q believed that he was the snake's god. He thought he could talk to it and control it. He approaches the snake. For a moment, the snake stops in front of him, but the very next instant, it attacks Dr. Q and swallows him whole in one go. The one who created that monster ultimately became its victim himself. Now it was Jan's turn. He was standing right in front of it. He draws the snake's attention toward himself. He leads it to the edge of the mountain where the stone monsters were sleeping below in the ravine. As soon as he reached there, he stopped himself and threw a bottle of blood down. The moment the monsters smelled the blood, they all woke up. When the giant snake came close to Jan and lunged to eat him, Jan pushed it downwards. The snake fell among those monsters, and the monsters immediately began attacking it. That snake became the monster's final prey. All those thousands of monsters pounced on the snake at once. The snake writhes in pain, screams, tries to save itself, but ultimately it is defeated by those monsters, and that's where its game ends. In other words, it dies. In the end, evil is vanquished, and in the movie's post-credit scene, we see the sun rising the next morning. Yen, Lee, and the remaining survivors are standing by the seashore. From a distance, they see a rescue ship approaching, and the sight of it brings them back to life with hope. Although they are injured and exhausted at this point, their spirits are still high because they have survived. And so, the story of these people surviving against the monsters on this bloody island ends here, showing them alive.